All right, fight fans, welcome back to another edition of No Standard 8 Boxing Talk. I'm your host, the Bronx Bomber. And this episode, we're going to talk about legacy and Earl Spence. Correction, I'm sorry, I just got done talking about Earl Spence. Uh, Terrence Crawford talking about he don't need Earl Spence Jr. For his legacy. And everything that's unfolded since Crawford won, obliterated Kell Brook. So much has happened with the promotion company, and then Bob Arms saying that Crawford needs to promote himself much like Floyd does and other fighters do, and Brian Garcia does. That he's not there to market, uh, Terrence Crawford, and geez, man, it was ugly, and we don't know what's gonna happen, you know, coming out of this. Uh, I think Bob Arm's been in this business a very long time, and I think he sees something that he really doesn't care if one of the greatest fighters right now, uh, arguably probably the pound for pound number one fighter right now, wants to leave his camp, and Bob Arm was like, ah, there's a lot to say to that because I'm pretty sure De La Hoya felt it when Canelo left, and he's feeling it. He may say otherwise, but he's feeling it. So for Bob Arm to say, there's something happening behind closed doors that we're not seeing, we're not hearing about. Okay? Because you don't say that about the number one, arguably the number one pound for pound fighter right now in Terrence Crawford. You just don't say that. So what's happening? Uh so listen, everybody came on Twitter and says, "Oh, Bob is foul. That's what he gets paid to do." No, he gets paid to promote fights. Okay, not fighters. Fights. Fighters have always marketed themselves or not marketing themselves. Okay, well, they've marketed themselves. Either they did it with their mouth, their skills, their bravado, their humbleness. They market themselves. There's something that brings fans to a fight night. What brought us to many of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s fight nights was for us to see him lose, for somebody to shut that mouth up. It's what drew millions of fights for the Muhammad Ali fights. People wanted to see Muhammad Ali get shut up by listening by anybody who would shut him up. And Muhammad Ali marketed himself well, but he was also promoted well. So the job of the promotion company, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a listen, I'm just a fight fan, okay? So it's to promote the fight, promote the venue, promote the fight between the two fighters, the Thriller in Manila, the Rumble of the Jungle, the Fight of the Century, all those little knickknacks and tricks that they use to get people to buy fights. But Bob Arnold, I think, spoke truth where fighters market themselves, brand themselves. Either they're going to brand themselves as a good guy, they're going to brand themselves as a bad guy, they're going to brand themselves, or people are going to brand them as the baddest man on the planet. Okay? That's what I believe Bob was talking about. And when he did the comparison to Ryan Garcia, that's what Ryan Garcia does very well. That's what that knucklehead Jake Paul does very well. Okay? Is market themselves via. It is easier to do nowadays because you really don't have to have a big mouth. You just have to have a social media following. So, and that's where Terrence Crawford, I believe, is failing is the ability to keep himself relevant, and the fact that his resume keeps coming into question, and the quality of fighters that he's fought. It gives a little light to some of that criticism. So, and then now he culminates it and he adds on to that criticism by saying that he doesn't need Earl Spence Jr. to cement his legacy. Boxing, unlike any other sport, okay, in order for you to cement legacy, is all about your opponent. Your legacy is always, always, always in boxing going to be about your resume. Nothing more, nothing less. The amount of championships you have and your resume. Okay, there's a reason why we still remember the Fab Four of boxing. Okay, it's because of what they did. They fought each other. It was the opponents. Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler. And we can also add Wilfredo Benitez to that mix. There's a reason why we don't talk about Michael Moore. His accolades are tremendous. If you look down the list of accolades that Michael Moore has accomplished throughout his career, but his legacy will always be that he got knocked out by 45-year-old George Foreman. So what do you want your legacy to be? Now, legacy, you're going to have a legacy whether you want it or not, Terrence. You're going to have a legacy. It's either going to be a good legacy, it's going to be a bad legacy. And good legacies in the sport of boxing go always are revolve around two things: wins, championships, and the people you fought, the quality of opponent you fought. And I hate to break it to you, but you need all them guys in that 147-pound division to cement your legacy. Because right now, in my opinion, yeah, you're great, have every physical ability, but it has not been tested against what's considered the top and the cream of the crop of that division. Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, Danny Garcia, Earl Spence Jr., and a couple others. Okay? Manny Pacquiao. Everybody wants to use Manny Pacquiao. Look, listen, Manny Pacquiao is not Gamboa. You're not going to use him as a name as a step up. Manny Pacquiao is still very game. So you got to be careful with what you ask for. And Manny Pacquiao beat a very game Keith Thurman. He did. Keith Thurman turned it on later in that fight, which also could lead people to believe that he eked out a draw or a split decision, favoring him. Okay? So, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but you got to fight all those guys. And if you don't fight those guys, you're going to be, the great that never was. Okay? Not a has been, just that never was. We have all these championships, all these accolades that means nothing, especially nowadays with so many of them going around. You kind of sort of have to cement your legacy by fighting tough opposition. And time's running out. Father Time waits on no one, and Father Time's undefeated. So time is running out. You need to fight Earl Spence Jr., Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, Danny Garcia, anybody in that welterweight division here in a little bit, and start cementing your legacy. Because it's going to be written whether you like it or not. And how it's written is totally up to you. That's my take on it. The Bronx Bomber, as always, I'll bring in some more analysis next week. Look out for my fight breakdown Monday or Tuesday next week. As always, like, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on Fight Night. Peace.